Getting up to speed with Ecamm Live Pro. This is the series for you. We will cover all the functions, features, utilities, hacks, and best practices. But in this video, let's take a look at some of the more critical functions and features, and they are listed as profiles, scenes, and overlays. Profiles, scenes, and overlays. Let's dive right in. Now, I want to say this right at the outset as we get ready to go into it, right? On the screen, you can see the base, right? For Ecamm, you can see the program window, right? This is a program window. You can see these sound levels. And I'm going to bring up scenes and overlays in just a second. We're going to take a look at profiles. But I want to say this, in your planning, in your setting up with Ecamm, one of the guiding principles I like to share, and I'll share it again at the end, is you need to determine what your base is going to be and then build from there. Maybe your base is going to be a camera scene. Maybe your base is going to be a screen share scene. Maybe your base is going to be a video scene, or, and this is the most likely of the four, your base will be a blank scene. Don't miss that. There are four options for scenes. And for many of us, depending on what it is we want to do, a blank scene actually will work better. And so I want to make sure that we get a chance to think that through. If it's a camera scene, that we'll showcase how some of those pieces work in just a second. But I wanted to share that at the outset. Now, I want to start off by looking at profiles. So if you go to the menu at the top, you've got the Ecamm Live menu, several things here. And if you've ever wanted to know how do I update it, you can go to right here to preferences, or better yet, check for updates, right? You have the edit menu, and there's a number of things in here as well, but it's really more, the Mac edit menu, copy paste, that kind of stuff. Then you have profile. Now in the profiles are a collection of scenes, Profiles are a collection of scenes. Scenes are a collection of overlays. Profiles are a collection of scenes, and scenes are a collection of overlays. And I want to make sure I kind of share that and explain that. Another thing that's really cool to note is that you have your profiles here. You can create a profile that is your base, right? That profile has your base set of sound effects in there, your base set of scenes in there. Maybe there's a set of scenes that you like to use as kind of a template. What I like to do is just build out a base profile, and then that profile is my template. So anytime I'm creating a new profile, I duplicate that profile and then go from there. So that's another one really interesting way of doing that. Second thing you want to know, and you see it on the screen here, is that you can export profiles. You can export profiles, meaning if you have Ecamm set up on a different machine, maybe like a laptop that you're going on the road with, you want to do some streaming or some content creation in the hotel room, which I do all the time. There's no reason why you can't do that by exporting your profile and importing it on your laptop. You can have a whole profile that you export out of Ecamm and then import it into Ecamm on your laptop. So you have, here I'm using my Mac Mini, but maybe I want to use my laptop. So that's another thing to do as well. You have some of the same functionality, however, with scenes and scene folders. And so we're going to get into that. We want to get into that and take a look at that in a second. Lastly, I want to share here, if you are starting fresh, I want to give you an opportunity to work with me even a little closer. We've got a masterclass. You're starting fresh in content, not necessarily with Ecamm, but you're starting fresh with content. You've been bogged down by some of the things that you've been seeing, and it's like, boy, I don't know if I can really, is this something that I can actually do? I really want to set you free. I want to give you some tools. I want to give you some perspective, some insight from my own experience that will help, I think, to set you free and release you to be the content creation machine that God has designed. So if that is of interest to you, just go ahead and head over to kirkarnugent.com and register for the next masterclass. Now, with that said, you've got we've got these profiles here, and that profile right now is my training profile. That's the one that I'm on. The next thing I'm going to do is just going to go over here to the main window and click on show scenes window, and that brings up this window here. And this is where we're going to kind of hang our hats for today. Just going to adjust this so you can see that a little bit better. And I'll zoom in where possible. This folder of this is what I'm using to record currently. And as I mentioned before, even your scenes, you can say even take this folder, drag that folder to the desktop, and now that file is something that you can double click and take into another Ecamm instance. Or if you want to transition, let's say just individual scenes from one profile to another, you can do this process. Just drag it to your desktop or to a Finder location. And then once you have opened the new profile, you can double click that Ecamm Live file. That's what that is. The folder name plus Ecamm Live. That's what that file is. You double click it and it'll open it up in that new profile or on your other computer. I deliver content like this for clients all the time. I build out all their scenes, create all the automations, and just export that one folder of scenes, send it to them. They double click that bad boy and they're off to the races. So keep that in mind as well. As I mentioned, scenes are a collection of overlays. And so the other thing that we're going to do is come right here and open up our overlays. This is the icon for overlays. I'm going to click that and you can see that this overlays window is here. And every time you change scenes, right? Every time you change scenes, the overlays change. So let's build out a couple of scenes here. So we're gonna hit the plus sign to create a new scene. So this is new scene. Let's call this flyer scene, right? And so in the flyer scene, maybe I don't want this to be my camera. I want this to be blank. And so in that instance, I would simply come here to source and then click blank. Now, once I click blank, now that thing is blank. I can go here to my overlays and click on the new image overlay button and select, of course, we'll need to be in the folder where I have some things. Okay, here we go. I'll select a graphic. And so now that's what this scene is. This scene is my graphic that I've designed here, getting started with Ecamm Live Pro. And so now that's what this scene is. Okay, and that's pretty cool. Now I'm going to create yet another scene, and notice it every time I create a scene, it's going to go back to the default source mode, which is a camera. In order to change that default source mode, you want to go here to video, right? Let me do that again. I did that way too quick. Right here, you go to preferences. Your preferences wheel is right on the program window. You go to preferences. When you click that, you have all these tabs across the top. You want to go to video. When you click on video, you have a default source mode and default transition mode. Live motion is pretty cool, but you may want to change that to something else, but you need to know that this is where this is. When I click on this, I can click blank. So now my default source mode is blank. And I'm gonna tell you right now, even if you're a seasoned Ecammer, that one little setting right there may have just saved you a ton of time and heartache, because building on top of a camera scene is not the move, y'all. It's not the move. So now what I might want to do in this scene is I may want this to be my YouTube intro. So I have this. All right, I'm going to pause that. I had to unmute myself because by default, when I select a video scene, the microphone for the pure person, of course, is muted. So you have to decide whether or not you want that muted. And these settings are saved per scene. So I'm going to click in here and call this intro. So I've got my intro video here, and I want to set this to go to next scene, right? And then of course, then now I want to hit this plus sign. And in this one, let's just call this host. Now in this scene, I do want it to be my camera. And so I can just simply go back here and click on camera. And now we're good to go. So flyer scene, intro video scene. And now I'm going to let it finish. Goes to the host scene. So this is a sequence of this is a sequence of scenes that we have just set up in a matter of moments. And I really want to kind of showcase, even from the perspective, okay, so we've done the flyer or graphic scene. We've done the video scene, which mutes me, so I'm not going to go back to that. But let's do yet one other scene. So here I've created a new scene, and maybe let's say this is presentation, right? So in the presentation scene, I will want to go over here to new overlay, and I'm going to find my presentation. This is my masterclass presentation. I'll put that on the screen here, and maybe I'll just make that a little bit smaller so that it doesn't take up the whole screen. I will add a camera, right? I'm going to add a camera. I want this to be my main camera. So I'm going to hit the pencil, go up here, select camera A. That's my main camera. I don't want the corners to be rounded. Don't want any, maybe I do want a border. Okay, border, let's do color. And let's change that border color to white. Make that border just a little bit smaller. I do want to change this to custom. All right, and now with custom, I can crop in on that camera. So it maintains the size, but it does allow me to crop in on it. I do want to keep it about there. And you can see that haptic feedback that I'm getting. Another thing that I like to do sometimes is come here, hit the pencil, and change my perspective, right? Just lean that perspective in a little bit, and then lean my perspective in a little bit as well towards it, so that it kind of looks like they're looking at one another. And then lastly, let's grab a background. So we're going to hit the same new overlay graphic here again. Let's get this one, same one that I'm using, hit open. And you see that now this is on top, but I want this to be in the background. So I just simply drag it to the bottom, and now that background is there. And this, if I want to move through the PDF, I can click with the mouse, or I can use the arrows to go through the PDF as well. I can go here and lock these overlays in place. I can also select the eye to hide any one of these overlays. Because as I mentioned, a scene is a collection of overlays, and a profile is a collection of scenes, right? So we have this scene sequence already here. And so now I've got a whole scene that's been defined as a blank scene. And this is why I always mention, this could be something that you want to do. In addition, you may want to decide, instead of starting from scratch, right? You want to use this scene as a base for, let's say, a website scene, right? So I'm going to duplicate this by clicking the duplicate option. I'm going to say, this is my how it all works web, right? I'm going to call it that. I want this to stay the same, but I want to put my website here instead of my PDF for my presentation. So I'm going to go here to the presentation and actually let's leave it as it is. Let's add a web widget. You could do a screen share, but I'm going to add it this way. So I'm going to do a web widget. I'm going to call this howitallworks.com. Want this to be 1920 by 1080, high resolution mode. Keep running. I'm going to keep it at 30 frames per second. And right now, transition is none. We're going to add that widget, and it comes up. And simply by clicking on this little icon right here, I can interact with this website. But I'm going to put it in place first, so that once I'm done sizing it where I'd like it to be, it's ready to go. So let's put it like that. Again, we can go here to the widget itself, pull it down, and I can hide it. I'm going to right click on this and copy. And this copy option allows me to copy the settings, right? So let's say I have this with a little bit of a border. Okay, let's go to border. It's going to be a color. Let's give it a white color. Again, we want that to be very slight. And And maybe I even have it transition of fly in from the top. Okay, so those are the settings on this guy. We can close our color palette. Right now, I right click, copy this. Let's hide that. You'll see it go up. We show it. You'll see it come down. I'm going to hide that. Go and unhide my widget and right click on this and just say paste settings. And you'll see that the perspective shifts. It now has the border, and it will also, let's lock it in place. It will also hide. So in that scene, I have this widget that is set and ready to go. I simply now can go and hit this toggle button, and I can scroll in that, and I can actually click on the different things. I can interact with this web page as if it is, as if I'm just browsing in a browser. So a ton of functionality available to you just here in scenes, right? We have profiles, which is a group of scenes, and you have scenes, which are groups of overlays, and you can group your scenes into folders, export them that way, and you can design to your heart's content. And like I mentioned before, there's just so many different possibilities for this. And as I click back to my previous scene, I have my presentation that I'm still going through. I can click back to the next scene. And again, the slide in from the top may not be necessarily what you want every single time you go to that scene. Maybe you just want it once. But again, it's totally up to you. There's so much granular control here. One of the things that I also like to do, as I go back to this, when you saw that, the way that transition, that's the live motion transition here inside Ecamm. But the other thing that I like to do here is to add some overlays as a lower third. So we can add here a rectangle, and I'm going to make sure that it's not round. Just kind of, there's so many ways to be able to do this. This is kind of more of a design piece, but I wanted to make sure that you get a chance to see, what all is possible and what all is available. Again, you can Control V, and now I've got two of them. Maybe I take this one and make it make the color part of my brand color. Let's go to that one. Right, that's my brand color there. So I'll just kind of put that off to the side. Just kind of, anyway, the idea is you have the ability to even now take these overlays and put them into a folder. And once you have them in a folder, right, layer priority is still a thing. So you want to make sure that you can actually link them together. And once you have them linked, you definitely once you have them linked and not locked, you can move them as one. And then even in that folder, I can do a text and say, okay, put my name. All right, and now for that text, I don't want the text color to necessarily be white, or maybe I do. Let's add it and see what it looks like. We have a little bit of a drop shadow on there, so let's double click that. And for the background, edit background and just say none, right? We'll say none. We say save that. And again, now we have that here in the middle. I'm going to put this inside the folder, and now that's there. So boom, we can have this like that. You have shapes and text, and I can put a timer widget in this scene. If I put a timer widget in this scene, change this to 15 seconds. All right, let's put this as 00. All right, and put this as 15 seconds. And what do I want it to do? I want it to go to the next scene at that. I'm going to click add, and maybe I put it behind put it behind the name so that it's hidden, so you can't see it. And then in 15 seconds, so it's going to move automatically to the next scene. And so these are some of the types of things that you can do with Ecamm that is absolutely phenomenal. Here's yet another thing that we can do. I'm going to add a camera switcher folder, right? So here we have a new automatic group. And so it's not really, I really shouldn't say a camera switcher folder. This is an automatic group, right? So in this automatic group, I'm going to, let me put at the bottom. Let's put this at the bottom. All right. So in this group, I can add a new scene. I'm going to make this my camera. and we'll just maybe call that cam 1. And I can change this, hit the wheel here and decide that this is going to go every 5 seconds, right? And what it's going to do is go to the next scene, and it's going to have the transition of cross dissolve. So that's what that is. I'm going to just duplicate this scene and call this cam 2. And we'll go to camera 2, and we'll duplicate this scene, call this camera 3. And we'll go to camera 3 and duplicate this scene, go to camera 4, and we'll call this camera 4. And again, maybe we'll duplicate the scene and go to camera 5. And then here we'll select camera G, and camera G, we will change camera G to be black and white, and we'll change camera G to be zoomed in. All right, we can adjust that a little bit. So now we have our scenes set to what we want them to be, and I can simply hit play, and every 5 seconds it's going to change to the next scene. And this is what we call an automatic group. It could be some slideshow that you're showing. It could be some B-roll that you're showing. It could be something else that you're doing. You can design these scenes in whatever way. I didn't even take any time to design them, as you could see. I just kind of put it in there together. I wanted to make sure you have an example of what the automatic scene group is. Of course, today we're focused on profile, scenes, and overlays in this Understanding Ecamm series video. And so this is another way that you can show up, another way that you can, make it your own. Maybe you here in this scene, you're like, okay, this is cool, but I also want to add an overlay. And one of the overlay options is a camera. So I can add my camera here, put this as camera A, make this into a circle, make it smaller, add myself here, lock that camera, and now that's part of that scene. And maybe I want to say, okay, I want to go here, Control C. In this scene, I want the same thing. In this scene, I want the same thing. Right? I mean, in this scene, I want the same thing. And so now I can press play, and I've just pasted my overlay, right? Cameras can be overlays. I've pasted that into the other subsequent scenes. Press play again. And again, this is another really engaging way. Talk about friction to flow. Talk about leveraging video naturally. Talk about almost having a producer, like somebody's editing the video for you. I mean, I can come out of live demo mode so you can kind of see what this looks like full screen. And these are the options that you have inside Ecamm with scenes and overlays. And we are just scratching the surface. There's so much more that we can go to that I'm excited to be able to share. And so we definitely excited about what we got here. Went a little over in terms of time. I was hoping to keep this under 20 minutes, but I hope that it was meaningful for you. In our next video, we're going to talk about design. We're going to be talking about designing. Of course, I just did a little bit of design with that lower third, but I want to give you a lot of the design elements, the way that you can do your backgrounds, your outlines, the different colors, the different shapes and different aspects that you have from Ecamm to be able to design and really dial in your look the way that you want to. And so I hope that you will check us out for that particular video. I think I clicked on something incorrectly here. So I hope that you'll check us out for that particular video. And I hope that you are getting something from this. Let me know in the comment section below what you have thought about the things that we have shared thus far. And what are you starting to think about in terms of Ecamm? Be sure to join us for the next video where we go over Ecamm design. You can click right here to watch, and I will see you over there. Grace and peace, family. Hope to see you in the next one.